Hi, everybody. This is Carly Wayne again, and I wanted to shoot out a quick video for how to use my template. This is StoryAtlas for Notion. There is another version of this template on the Xtiles platform that you can take a look at if you prefer Xtiles. Both that and Notion have their own pros and cons, so the functionality is just a tiny bit different between the two of them. Um, I am an author. I write cozy mysteries. The Crooked Cove Mysteries is my current series, and I'm also working on a couple of other standalone books with paranormal adventures that you'll be hearing about soon. But because I'm an author, and if you are watching this video, you're probably an author too, so you realize how important it is to keep track of the details for our stories from one chapter to the next. You want to make sure that all of the little details are the same. There are a lot of things that can fall through the crack, and nobody's going to want to read a book where, the crazy neighbor's name changes somewhere in the middle of the book because we forgot what it was. So most of us should have a book Bible or a series Bible to keep track of all those details. And Story Atlas is just that. It's meant to be a story Bible for your manuscript. This is the dashboard, and basically everything you need has a link on this dashboard. There are several databases that run the system, and you'll see the functionality of that in just a few minutes, but we'll go through the dashboard and see what all is in here. We've got places for your characters, your settings, your story, places to hold all of the research you've done for this particular story, productivity. I have sprints if you like to keep track of your own writing sprints and writing environments. We'll take a look at that in a moment. A list here of all your tasks. And while I know that there are hundreds more little tasks that we have to do, I just put the top most important ones, steps of writing your manuscript from your very first idea down to your published date. Those are the main things that you have to do to get your manuscript ready for publishing. You will add in your due dates, and we'll just click on one just to see. If you click on this, put in your due date, the status of the task, who it's assigned to. If you hire an editor and you want to be able to keep track of that person, you could assign it to your editor. And once we start filling things in, you can go through and see how these things go. On the editing tasks, I have them here. When you click on the actual page, it will tell you things to look for. If you're not familiar yet with editing your own manuscripts, this just kind of gives you a guide on what to do for each stage of editing. You're free to delete it, put whatever you want in there, but those are your tasks. And scrolling on down, the guts is where the databases live, and all of these databases I keep locked. So if you need to make changes to the database, for instance, the notes and web clips, if you click into that page, you'll see that it's locked, and all you have to do is click on it to unlock it, and you can make changes to the properties here, add new properties, delete properties if you don't need to. Especially topics, a lot of times people want to change the topics, whatever your actual book is about, so you can easily do that here and add new or create new topics, delete the topics that you know you're not going to use. Once you're done making your changes, you want to relock it so that you don't accidentally make a change on one of the other pages that might affect the relations and the roll-ups, how each of the databases talk to each other. So just for safety purposes, you want to keep these databases locked. Okay. The breadcrumbs up top makes for very easy navigation. If you go back here to the dashboard page, you can get to wherever you need to go. One thing that I did want to draw your attention to is if you move your cursor all the way to the right-hand side, you get this table of contents. And as you start filling things in and this page gets longer and longer, the table of contents makes it very easy to get exactly where you need to go in the page, and you'll find that table of contents on any page that you're in. Okay, so we'll start here with characters. When you're ready to add a character to your story, if you click this button, it will open up a page for you to complete. You'd put your character name here and go through the page filling in. This really does help with character building and a quick reference for reminding you maybe some of the smaller characters that you can't remember all their details. It really does help. And again, feel free to edit this to whatever you want, whatever you need to keep track of for your story and how you organize things. So we have a new character. For your settings, there's two different buttons. So I did want to bring your attention to that. If you click on the button for a new place, these are your large scale places, your world or your town, the large scale places that everyone lives in, and you may have more than one. So I made two templates, one for the large places and one for the small places. Here is the template for the larger worlds or towns. And again, if you have ideas of what could be added here, let me know. I'd be happy to update the template if you have good ideas or if you have a great way of organizing things that are a lot better than my way. I'm always excited to hear. I love organization, so I'm always excited to hear about new templates and new ideas. So that is your large place, your large places. A setting is for your small scale. These are for, someone's house or the park or even the inside of a car. Settings that happen in your story. You would have a lot more of these than you have places. So this is the template for the small scale settings within your story and within your world. For the story, we have chapters and scenes, and that keeps track of all of the scenes in your story. So when you're planning out a new scene, if you click this button, you get your template. And as you're filling things in, these things will populate. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. But the template for a new scene also gives you what I use as my scene card to help plan that specific scene. StoryAtlas is not designed to house your entire manuscript, but if you wanted to, you could upload a file here. You could embed a PDF or a link to a Word document if you write in Word or whatever of that particular scene. That's just an idea. It's not something I do. I do use Scrivener for my actual writing. But as you fill in these scenes, all of that information feeds into your chapters and scenes database. So it will automatically populate all of this stuff that you can look at everything at a glance and see who is the point of view character, who else is in the scene that doesn't have a point of view, where does the scene take place, a short synopsis of the scene, the date, and you can also put time when you're adding these in of when your scene is taking place. And we have a timeline view. If you click here, if you fill in the date property, it will populate on the timeline, and we'll show you that later. You can format this if you come here to just days, and it will show on the timeline the day that each scene takes place. If it is very long term, you can go weekly, but that's the timeline view. We'll fill some scenes in a minute so that you can see exactly how it works. The guts, I did go through the guts. Okay. So the notes and web clips, I'll show you that in a moment. That's the database and it is locked. But as you add notes and if you use the Notion web clipper, everything will come here to this database, to this table, and it helps you sort things. And I'll show you that too in just a moment. Scrolling on down again, research, you can make notes here, you can link to files, you can make a new table, anything, add sketches, add pictures, whatever you need for your own research, as well as a section here for the notes and the web clips for your research. Scrolling down to productivity, I told you about the tasks, but the My Sprints page will open to a Pomodoro timer so that you can host your own sprint with friends or all by yourself, and a table here to keep track of your sprints if you wanted to. And say, for instance, this is just the session number. I would say I was going to have another sprint on today is the 17th, and say I was only going to do about an hour, so 60 minutes in this sprint. My target for this hour is going to be, I want to see if I can do 1,500 words in this hour sprint. But the hour is over, and I actually only made it to, say, 350 words because I got all caught up in doing other things and answering the phone and going down the rabbit hole on the internet, and I only ended up writing 350 words in that hour. It will automatically calculate that I made it to 23% of my goal, and I wrote 6 words per minute during that hour. So it will these two properties that will automatically tabulate that for you. It's just kind of fun to know. If you see on this sprint, I did 2 hours and my target was 2,000 words. I wrote 1,500 words. So I made it 75% of the way to my target, and I wrote 13 words per minute. But let's see, I did another sprint today on the 17th for 30 minutes. And I said, okay, in that 30 minutes, I can absolutely definitely write 250 words. I'm going to make my target 250 for these 30 minutes. But lo and behold, I actually managed to write 314. So I was at 126%. I went 26% over my goal. That's great for me, huh? So that's the My Sprints page. The writing environment is the other page in productivity, and that is just a fun page. And I just showed some examples here. The immersive writing session, if you've ever looked on YouTube, there are many, many different writing environments that will give you some ambiance and some background sounds if you want to. This particular one is a train going through the countryside. So it does have timers for you on here as well. So we'll just go, you know, and you just kind of play that in the background. There's lots of different themes. If you go on YouTube and search for immersive writing environments, you'll find lots and lots of examples, and they're just kind of fun, and some people find them helpful to keep their concentration going. If you just simply want some background music, you can embed your Spotify playlist, and that's what I have here. It's just a link from Spotify, and Lord, you can play as you go. I always play when I'm writing some kind of classical music or some kind of instrumental environmental music, because if I listen to music with words, I realize that pretty soon I'm just singing along and not paying attention to what I'm writing. So that is your writing environments. Feel free to put whatever you want on there. And what I will do now is I'm going to go fill in some stuff in these databases so that you can see what it looks like when everything starts linking together. So I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. And as you can see, I've added in just a couple of things here so that we can see how it works. Um, for an example, I'm using A Study in Scarlet, which is the first Sherlock Holmes mystery. It shows how Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson meet and decide to rent an apartment together. So that's interesting enough. But as you can see, I've added in some characters and a couple of settings. I've also put some scenes in here. So a few things that I will show you very quickly to add a new character. When I click the button, it opens my template for a new character. And we're going to put Tobias. Gregson. He is one of the detective inspectors with Scotland Yard. So we'll just click that he is a detective inspector. For right now, that's all I'm going to worry about. We will give him a little icon. Um, he's not actually a guardsman, but it's cute and British. So once you finish filling out your template and doing whatever you need to do, you can open this up to make a full page, of course, while you're working on it. But what you're going to want to do is go up to these three dots and copy the link. Unfortunately, we have to do this manually right now. I have put in a feature request with Notion to add this to the actions that we can program into the buttons so that this will happen automatically. But for right now, we have to add this link ourselves. So we go back to the dashboard and just paste Command V if you're on a Mac, and you want to paste it as a mention and add the character to the list. So now you have this link. You can go to any of your characters very easily and very simply to look at what's going on with them. We're going to add a new setting, and it's basically exactly the same thing. I'm going to put the name of the setting up here, and it is 221B Baker Street. And the location for me, I just try to keep it simple. I know it is in the Marylebone borough of London. So, I mean, that's just it for me. If this was some book I was writing, I would fill all this in. And my location would probably be something a little more specific for whatever I needed to relate to my story. And an icon, let me see. I don't know what the building looks like, but we'll just pick one and copy the link the same way. Go into those three dots. And then if I just click out of it, it'll take me back here and I can add the link for my settings. Because this is probably one of the more prominent settings. If I would have added, oh, and this is for every link, if I would have added a picture there, it would show on the little hover that drops down. But anyway, I would move this to the top of my list if it were one of the more frequent settings that I use. Okay, so now I have my characters and my settings. I'm ready to put in a new scene. Um, in the actual book, A Study in Scarlet, there are no scenes. Every chapter is just one long chapter, and it's not broken up to scenes. But I did it myself just for the purposes of this video. So this new scene, I'm giving it a title of The Letter. Okay. The name of the chapter. This is the first scene of chapter 3, and chapter 3 is titled The Lauriston Gardens Mystery. The point of view character, all of the entire book is narrated by Dr. Watson, so it's his point of view throughout the entire book. Normally, in that circumstance, if there's only one point of view character, I'll just leave it blank so it doesn't clutter up everything. But I'll also add the co-stars, the other characters. Let me see, the only other character in this particular scene is Sherlock Holmes. So he's the only co-star there. The date, we'll leave empty for now. The scene number, it is chapter 3, scene 1, and that's how I number them, 3.1. The setting, this takes place in their apartment on Baker Street. And a short synopsis. Holmes receives a letter from D.I. Gregson requesting help at a crime scene. Okay. And if I were actually planning out the scene, I would go through all these things. Okay, so there's no need to copy a link here because this is just going to go straight in the database and live there. I don't normally put icons on scenes. It's up to you. If you want to, you could add a cover photo if you wanted to make it look pretty, but putting a lot of those extra stuff in there can slow it down if you've got a really packed database full of stuff. So some of those smaller pages, I don't put any kind of decoration on. But let me see, the other scene was scene 2 in chapter 3. And this is the scene of the crime when Sherlock Holmes first approaches the crime scene and begins his investigation. I put in the chapter title. In this scene, we have Sherlock Holmes, E.J. Drebber. Spoiler alert, if anyone has not read it yet and intend to, I may reveal a couple of things. But E.J. Drebber is our victim. D.I. Lestrade is there, and D.I. Gregson is also there at the crime scene. So those are the co-stars in this scene. The point of view is, like I said, Dr. Watson, as always. This is scene number 3.2. It's scene number 2 in chapter 3. The setting, it takes place at number 3, Lauriston Gardens. And my synopsis, I forget here, Holmes and Watson investigate the crimes. Okay. So now if we go and take a look at the database, you can see a list here of all of the chapters and scenes that we've written so far. The very opening of the book, the roommate interview, we've got the scene number, the point of view character, the other characters that are in this scene, the setting where each scene takes place, a short synopsis, and I put a couple of dates in here. I just made them up to give you a look at the timeline. This is what it looks like when you look at the timeline. It will have the scene, the name of the scene number, and the date that it took place in, and you can just see it on the timeline as you go through there. Okay. Other things that I wanted to show you was, because this is a mystery, this is the page for the mystery. The web of intrigue is all of the people involved, the victim, the suspects, so that you can keep track of, as far as the suspects go, what would their motive be? What is their alibi? What secrets are they keeping, and what lies are they telling, as well as the proof of their innocence or guilt. There's a table here for your clues, what information it contributes to the investigation, and maybe who it might point to. For instance, I'm writing, my series, the Crooked Cove series, are cozy mysteries. So if we find, some kind of specific clue, it may automatically point to one of the characters that we know well, and I would put that in there. But we have some clues listed here from A Study in Scarlet. And I also have a place here for red herrings, which are clues that don't actually lead to the real perpetrator of the crime. They're planted to either mislead the sleuth and or the reader, and you want to keep track of those as well. So you can keep a list and plan out your red herrings if you're writing a mystery. A place here for murder method, procedure, and forensics, which reminds me we needed to take a look at that. If you have the Notion web clipper, you'll be familiar with, when you're browsing on the internet, you can clip a page and send it directly into your Notion. If you do that, they will automatically all go here to the notes and web clips database. Once they're in here, you're going to want to come in here to sort them all. I did a couple here for this because the victim died of poison. I probably wanted to do a little bit of research on poisons that would be available at the time that were, widely used, for lack of a better term, during the late Victorian era. So I clipped this and I would put it in my area for murder method. And I might want to put, let me see, I don't have it in here. I would put poison as my topic. And since the database is locked, it's not going to let me add it. Here, unlock it. And now I can add poisons to my list of topics. And just as an illustration, because this is not a Dickens novel and I'm not going to be using this topic, I can click on these three dots and delete it. Keep it out of the list. There's no ghosts here, so I can delete it. Just clean up my list a little bit. Okay. I also, on the internet, clipped a Wikipedia article about hansom cabs because that's how they travel from place to place in the story. So this would probably go under research. And I have another one here just on general Victorian and Edwardian era of London. So I would also file this under research. Okay, relocking my database and coming back here. Now, when I come down here to research, here they are. Once you file them under the direct topic, they'll show up exactly where you need them to be. Now, if I were to just take notes on my own, I could do that right here. And then I would want to click on it, it'll open, and I can write whatever I want here. And if you wanted to give it an icon, you can. It's completely up to you. But now I can see my notes and click over here and I can see my web clips under research. Okay. The last thing I wanted to show you is the tasks. Normally, whenever I am planning out and scheduling my tasks, the first thing I start with is my publish date. So I actually want to open this over here. Let's see. My due date is probably, let's say, I wanted to publish this in February. (2025). Okay, the status is not started. And that's all I'm really worried about right now. So let's say my character building due date, say I wanted to have it finished no later than September 21st. Okay, and it's in progress. Okay. And I want to finish my first draft by November 30th. That's done. So now when I look here, it will tell me the actual due date here, how many days I have left until the due date. So I only have 3 days left to finish up all my character building. And I have 73 days left to finish my first draft if I want to stay on schedule with my published date. And these will actually should be sorted by due date. Oops, back. These are sorted by due date. So now when I finish something, if I finished my character building, I've still got 3 days, but I finished 3 days early. If I click done here, that'll tell me that I'm done. Okay. And as you fill in the dates here for the remaining things, they will sort themselves appropriately. My copy, edit, and proofing is the last thing I do before my final draft. So let's see, my published date is February 15th. So let's just say, for pretend's sake, I wanted this to be done by January 20th, 2025. And now it's moved itself up above the published date, and everything will sort itself as you put the days in. So I think that's it. I think I've covered everything that I meant to cover. So if you have any questions, you're always welcome to send me an email. My email is Carly, CARLY, @carlywayne.online. and I'd be happy to hear from you. I'd love to hear how the templates are working out for you, any changes that you'd like to suggest. So give me a shout, and I will speak to you all soon.